The Christmas card arrived on a Tuesday, addressed in Kylie's perfect calligraphy. Inside, beneath a photo of her and my brother Dexter posing in front of their new Tesla, she'd written, "Hope our favorite charity case has a wonderful holiday. XOXO. My name is Lily," and that card was the moment I stopped playing nice. I should probably back up. Growing up in the Burke family meant learning your place early. Dexter got the corner office destiny, private school, business mentors, Dad's undivided attention. I got etiquette classes and lectures about marrying well. Lily's the pretty one. Mom would tell her friends, like that explained everything. She'll do just fine. I remember the exact moment I realized how trapped I was. 19 years old, home from community college for Christmas dinner. The whole family was there aunts, uncles, cousins, and Dad was going on about Dexter's latest internship at some investment firm. "Tell them about the merger analysis you wrote," Dad said, practically glowing with pride. Dexter launched into this boring story about spreadsheets and market projections while everyone nodded like he'd discovered fire. When he finished, the table erupted in applause. "That's my boy," Dad said. "Future CEO, right there." I saw my opening. "Actually, I've been working on a business idea too." The table went quiet. Not the good kind of quiet, the uncomfortable kind where everyone's trying not to laugh. "Oh?" Mom said, her voice tight. "What kind of business, sweetheart?" "Vintage luxury resale. I've been studying the market and there's huge demand for authenticated pre owned designer pieces. The profit margins are incredible if you know what to look for." Uncle Richard snorted. "Selling used purses? That's not a business. That's a garage sale." The whole table burst into laughter. Even Dexter was grinning. "Lily," Dad said, wiping his eyes, "leave the business talk to your brother. You focus on finding a nice husband." That was 10 years ago. I never brought up another business idea at family dinner, but I never stopped thinking about it either. Fast forward to last month. I'm 29, working double shifts at a boutique downtown, spending my nights hunched over my laptop in my studio apartment. I'd scraped together $12,000, every penny from tips, birthday money, and selling plasma twice a week for 6 months. I'd been quietly buying and reselling luxury handbags online for 2 years. Nothing fancy, just me with a good eye and a lot of research. I could spot a fake Hermes from across the room and knew which vintage Chanel styles were about to spike in value. My little side hustle was pulling in about 3,000 a month, not life-changing money, but enough to prove I wasn't completely delusional. So I swallowed my pride and called Dad. "I need a small business loan," I said. "$5,000. I'll pay it back with interest." "For what?" "My resale business. I want to expand inventory, maybe rent a small warehouse space." He sighed. "Lily, we've talked about this. You're not cut out for business. Why don't you focus on dating? Kylie knows some nice guys from her yoga class." "Dad, I'm making real money. I just need capital to scale up." "Honey, selling a few purses online isn't a business. It's a hobby. The answer is no." He hung up. 3 days later, Dexter called to tell me Dad had approved his request for $400,000 to fund his new tech startup. No business plan required, no questions asked. "It's going to revolutionize social media marketing," Dexter said. "Dad's so excited he's already talking about bringing me into the family investment portfolio." I congratulated him through gritted teeth and went back to my laptop. That was when I stopped asking for help and started planning something bigger. The Christmas card from Kylie was just the final push I needed. I stared at those words, favorite charity case, until they burned into my brain. I walked to my closet and pulled out a shoebox. Inside was my first real score, a vintage Prada bag I'd bought for $50 at an estate sale and sold for 800. The profit from that single transaction had convinced me I was onto something. I held the receipt in my hands and made a promise to myself. They wanted to treat me like I was nothing? Fine. I'd show them exactly what nothing could become. I opened my laptop and started typing an email to Isabel, a former luxury buyer I'd met at a resale convention. She'd mentioned wanting to partner with someone who had my eye for authentication. It was time to stop playing small. Isabel called me back within an hour. "I've been waiting for you to reach out," she said. "Your authentication skills are better than half the people I worked with at Saks. When can we meet?" We met at a coffee shop downtown the next morning. Isabel was everything I wanted to be: sharp, confident, wearing a blazer that probably cost more than my rent. Here's what I'm thinking, she said, sliding a folder across the table. I have the connections, you have the eye. We pool resources, create a legitimate LLC, and scale this thing properly. I opened the folder. Business projections, supplier contacts, a proposed partnership agreement. You're serious about this? Dead serious. The luxury resale market is exploding. We could be looking at seven figures within 2 years if we do this right. My phone buzzed. A text from my cousin Savannah. Coffee later. Want to hear about your little bag business? I showed Isabel the message. My family thinks this is cute. Good, let them underestimate you. We shook hands. By the end of the week, LuxLoop LLC was officially registered. Isabel handled the legal paperwork while I focused on sourcing inventory. The next few months blurred together. I quit my day job and threw everything into the business. Isabel's contacts opened doors I never could have reached alone. Estate sales in Beverly Hills, consignment deals with high end boutiques, even a few celebrity stylists looking to offload client pieces. Meanwhile, Dexter was making headlines. Not the good kind. Did you see this? Savannah called me one Tuesday morning. Dexter's company got featured in TechCrunch. I pulled up the article. The headline read, Young Entrepreneur Burns Through 400K in Record Time. The piece was brutal. Dexter had spent $60,000 on a launch party, hired three brand consultants at $5,000 a month each, and leased office space in the most expensive building downtown. His actual product, some kind of social media analytics tool, was still in beta testing. He's living like he's already successful, I told Isabel over lunch. Classic mistake. He's spending on lifestyle instead of building value. That same week, we landed our biggest deal yet, a complete wardrobe cleanout from a tech executive's wife. 47 pieces, including three Birkin bags and a vintage Chanel suit still in its original packaging. This is a gold mine, Isabel said as we cataloged everything. We're looking at maybe 200,000 in revenue from this lot alone. I was photographing a Kelly bag when Savannah showed up unannounced. Wow, she said, looking around the warehouse space we'd rented. This is way bigger than I expected. We're expanding, I said carefully. Kylie was asking about you yesterday. She wants to know how business is going. Why? Savannah shrugged. You know how she is, always keeping tabs on everyone. After she left, Isabel pulled me aside. Your cousin's fishing for information. I know. My whole family thinks they're entitled to know my business. Maybe it's time to give them something to really talk about. The breakthrough came 3 weeks later. A fashion blogger with 2 million followers posted about one of our pieces, a rare Hermes scarf we'd authenticated and listed. Her post went viral. Our website crashed from traffic. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. We need to hire help, Isabel said, scrolling through order notifications. This is insane. We brought on two part time employees and moved to a bigger warehouse. I was working 16-hour days, but for the first time in my life, I was building something that was mine. Then Dexter called. Hey, little sister, want to grab dinner? I have some exciting news. We met at his usual spot, an overpriced steakhouse where he liked to be seen. He was wearing a new watch, probably worth more than most people's cars. So, he said, cutting into his $40 steak, I'm raising a Series A round. Dad's helping me connect with some serious investors. That's great. The thing is, I need to polish my pitch deck, make it look more professional. You're good with design stuff, right? Could you help me out? I almost choked on my water. You want me to help with your business presentation? Just the visual stuff, making it pretty. You know, your thing. I stared at him across the table. He had no idea that while he was burning through Dad's money on fancy offices and launch parties, I was quietly building something real, something profitable. Sure, I said. I'd love to help. That night, I pulled up our latest revenue reports. LuxLoop had just crossed six figures for the quarter. We were on track to hit 1 million in annual revenue by year end. I screenshot the numbers and saved them in a folder labeled Family Dinner. Soon, I thought, very soon. The invitation arrived in my business email, not my personal one. Exclusive luxury resale mastermind. By invitation only. I stared at the sender. Vogue business events. Holy shit. I whispered, then immediately called Isabel. They want to feature Lux Loop in their upcoming issue, she said. I may have submitted our story to their Rising Entrepreneurs series. Without telling me? I wanted it to be a surprise. Lily, this is huge. Vogue Business doesn't feature just anyone. The mastermind was the same weekend as Dexter's birthday party. Perfect timing, as always. I spent Thursday in Manhattan at a conference room overlooking Central Park, surrounded by women who'd built million-dollar businesses from nothing. The moderator introduced me as the founder of LuxLoop, who's revolutionizing luxury authentication. During the lunch break, a photographer from Vogue pulled me aside. We'd love to get some shots for the article. Can you tell us about your background? I started with $12,000 and a good eye for spotting fakes, I said. Now we're doing seven figures annually. The photographer's eyes widened. Seven figures? In how long? 3 years. That's incredible. What's your secret? I never took no for an answer. Friday night, I drove back to town for Dexter's party. He'd rented out the entire top floor of the Meridian Hotel, $20,000 for one night, according to the invoice I glimpsed on his kitchen counter when I stopped by to drop off his fixed pitch deck. The party was everything I expected. Overpriced champagne, hired bartenders, a DJ who probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Dexter had invited everyone: family, college friends, business contacts, random acquaintances. Lily? Kylie rushed over the moment I walked in. She was wearing a new dress, designer heels, and enough jewelry to fund a small country. You look so nice. Very appropriate. Translation: cheap. Thanks. Great party. Isn't it? Dexter spared no expense. He's celebrating closing his seed round. I nodded politely while mentally calculating how much this party was costing versus how much actual revenue his company was generating. The math didn't add up. Oh, you have to meet some people, Kylie said, grabbing my arm. Everyone's been asking about Dexter's sister. She dragged me over to a group of well dressed couples. This is Lily, Kylie announced. She sells used bags online. It's so entrepreneurial. The way she said it made it sound like I was running a lemonade stand. How interesting, one woman said with a polite smile. Like eBay. Something like that, I replied. Lily's very crafty, Kylie added. She finds these vintage pieces at thrift stores and cleans them up. It's like a little hobby business. I was about to correct her when someone tapped my shoulder. Lily? Lily Burke? I turned around. Gareth, my ex from college, looking annoyingly good in an expensive suit. Gareth, what are you doing here? Dexter and I reconnected through mutual friends. I heard you were still in town. He smiled that same charming smile that used to make me forget my own name. You look amazing. Thanks. I've been thinking about you lately. We should catch up sometime. This was the same guy who'd broken up with me 3 years ago because I was too focused on that bag thing and not relationship material. I'm pretty busy these days. Come on, just coffee. I'd love to hear about what you're up to. Before I could answer, Dexter appeared with a microphone. Everyone, everyone, thank you for being here tonight. The crowd gathered around as he launched into a speech about gratitude and success and the incredible journey ahead. I couldn't have done this without my amazing family, he said, gesturing toward our parents. My dad, who believed in me from day one. My beautiful wife, Kylie, who supports all my dreams. He paused, scanning the crowd until he found me. And my little sister, Lily, who's always been there cheering me on. The crowd clapped politely. I forced a smile. After the speech, I found myself on the balcony getting some air. The city sparkled below, and I could hear the party continuing inside. There you are. I turned. Dad was standing in the doorway, looking uncomfortable. Great party, I said. Expensive party, he replied. But Dexter's doing well. His company's really taking off. Is it? He gave me a sharp look. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I'm happy for him. Dad stepped closer. Lily, I know you think I've been unfair to you over the years. Have you? I've been trying to protect you. Business is brutal. It's not a place for someone like you. Someone like me? You're sensitive, creative. You should be focusing on finding a good man, starting a family. I stared at him. What if I told you I didn't need protecting anymore? What do you mean? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. An email notification from Vogue Business. The subject line read, "Article goes live Monday. Congratulations on the feature." I looked back at Dad, then at the party inside where Dexter was holding court, where Kylie was probably telling more people about my little hobby business. "Nothing," I said, just thinking out loud. But as I watched him walk back inside, I was already planning exactly how I'd share that Vogue article when it went live. Monday was going to be very interesting. The Vogue business article went live at 6 a.m. Monday morning. By 6:15, my phone was exploding. "Lily, what the hell is this?" Savannah's voice was shrill through the speaker. "You're in Vogue? Since when do you make seven figures?" I was sitting in my new office, 1,500 square feet in the business district with floor to ceiling windows and a view of the river. The lease agreement was still warm from the printer. Since I stopped telling people my business, I said, "But seven figures? That's more than most people make in their entire careers." "I'm aware." "Why didn't you tell me? I thought we were close." "We are close. That's why I'm telling you now. Stop asking Kylie about my finances." Silence, then, "I don't know what you mean." Savannah. "Okay, fine. She's curious. Can you blame her? You went from selling a few bags to being featured in Vogue. It's kind of suspicious." I hung up and opened my laptop. The article was beautiful, a full page spread with professional photos of me in the warehouse, surrounded by authenticated luxury pieces. The headline read, "From thrift store to seven figures, how one woman built a luxury empire in secret." Isabel knocked on my office door. The phone hasn't stopped ringing. We have interview requests from Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, and three different podcasts. Book them all. Are you sure? Once you do this, there's no going back to flying under the radar. Good, I'm tired of being invisible. That afternoon, I created a spreadsheet comparing LuxLoop's revenue to Dexter's startup. The numbers were staggering. We'd made more profit in the last quarter than his company had generated in total revenue since launch. I was updating our inventory system when my assistant buzzed in. "Your brother's here to see you." Dexter walked into my office looking confused and slightly annoyed. He glanced around at the modern furniture, the team of employees visible through the glass walls, the professional setup that screamed legitimate business. "So this is real," he said. "Very real." "Why didn't you tell anyone?" "Mom and Dad are freaking out. Kylie's been calling me all morning asking how you could afford this place." "Maybe because every time I mentioned my business, you all laughed." He sat down across from my desk. "Okay, fair point. But Lily, this is incredible. I had no idea you were doing this well. Now you do. We should celebrate. This is amazing news for the whole family. Dad's going to be so proud." I almost laughed. "Is he?" "Of course, his daughter's a successful entrepreneur. This reflects well on all of us." Before I could respond, my phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize. "Lily, this is Jessica from People magazine. We'd love to feature you in our Women Who Win section. Are you available for an interview this week?" I glanced at Dexter, whose eyes had gone wide. "Absolutely. Let me have my assistant schedule that." After I hung up, Dexter leaned forward. "People magazine. Lily, this is huge. You're going to be famous." "I'm going to be successful." "There's a difference." "Listen, I actually came here for a reason. I'm working on my Series A pitch, and I could really use your help. Not just with design, I mean real business advice. You obviously know what you're doing." I stared at him. 3 months ago, he'd asked me to make his presentation pretty. Now he wanted business advice. What kind of help? "Investor strategy, maybe some financial projections. Your numbers are incredible. If I could show similar growth potential." "Dexter, what's your current monthly revenue?" He shifted uncomfortably. "We're still in growth mode. Revenue isn't the primary focus right now." "What's your burn rate?" "About 40,000 a month." "And you're generating how much income?" Silence. "Dexter, we're pre-revenue, but the potential is enormous once we launch properly." I pulled up his pitch deck on my computer, the one I'd helped him with. It was full of buzzwords and projections with no basis in reality. "You've been burning through Dad's money for 8 months with zero revenue. It takes time to build something revolutionary. I built this in 3 years, starting with $12,000. That's different. You're selling existing products. I'm creating something entirely new." My assistant knocked again. The photographer from Forbes is here for your shoot. Dexter's jaw dropped. Forbes? We'll have to continue this later, I said, standing up. I have a photo shoot. As I walked him to the elevator, he grabbed my arm. Lily, I'm really proud of you. And I meant what I said about needing help. Maybe we could partner on something? Combine our expertise? The elevator doors opened. I'll think about it, I said. But as the doors closed and I watched him disappear, I was already thinking about something else entirely. The family's 40th anniversary party was coming up in 2 months. Mom had been planning it for a year, a huge celebration of Burke family legacy and success. I wondered how they'd feel about adding Lux Loop to that legacy story. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw the Vogue article. Incredible what you've built. Would love to reconnect. Gareth. I deleted it without responding and walked back to my Forbes interview. Some bridges were meant to stay burned. The news broke on a Wednesday morning. I was reviewing quarterly reports when Isabel burst into my office with her laptop. You need to see this, she said, setting it on my desk. The headline screamed from TechCrunch: Startup scandal, data breach, exposes thousands of users, unpaid vendors come forward. Below it was a photo of Dexter looking shell shocked outside his office building. Holy shit, I whispered, scrolling through the article. They're saying he owes vendors over $200,000. It gets worse. Look at this. She clicked to another tab, a local business journal article titled Burke Tech Faces Lawsuits as Employees Report Missing Paychecks. My phone started ringing. Mom's contact photo filled the screen. Lily, thank God. Have you seen the news? I'm looking at it now. This is a disaster. Your father's been on the phone all morning trying to do damage control. The investors are pulling out, the landlord's threatening eviction, and Kylie, her voice broke. Kylie's having a complete breakdown. Where's Dexter? Locked in his office with lawyers. Lily, we need to talk. Can you come over? An hour later, I was sitting in my parents' living room, watching my family fall apart in real time. Dad was pacing by the window, barking into his phone about reputation management. Mom sat on the couch, clutching a tissue box like a life preserver. Kylie was sprawled in the armchair, mascara streaked down her cheeks. My whole life is ruined, she sobbed. Do you know what people are saying about us? The Tesla's getting repossessed. The house might go into foreclosure. I can't show my face at the country club. Where's Dexter? I asked. Still downtown, Dad said, hanging up his phone. The lawyers think they can minimize the criminal charges, but the civil suits. He shook his head. This could bankrupt us. Criminal charges? Fraud, embezzlement. The DA's office is investigating whether he knowingly misrepresented company finances to investors. Kylie let out a fresh wail. I told him to be more careful with the books, but he said I didn't understand business. How bad is it financially? I asked. Dad slumped into his chair. Bad. We mortgaged the house to cover his initial investment. If this company goes under, we could lose everything. Everything. The house, the cars, our retirement savings, 40 years of building this family's reputation. Gone. I looked around the room at the expensive furniture, the original artwork, the crystal chandelier that cost more than most people's cars, all of it built on the assumption that Dexter would carry the family legacy forward. There might be a solution, I said carefully. 3 pairs of eyes turned to me. I could help. Financially. Dad's expression shifted from desperation to confusion. Lily, sweetheart, this isn't about a few $1,000s. We're talking about serious money. How serious? 500,000 minimum, maybe more depending on the lawsuits. I can cover that. The room went silent. Even Kylie stopped crying. What do you mean you can cover that? Dad asked slowly. Lux Loop's been very successful. I have the liquidity. Lily, Mom said gently, we appreciate the offer, but your little business made 3.2 million last year. You could have heard a pin drop. That's impossible, Dad whispered. I pulled out my phone and showed them the Forbes article that had just gone live that morning. The headline read, 29-year-old builds 3 flights, business while family focused on golden child brother. Kylie snatched the phone from my hands. 3.5 million? Are you kidding me? The reporter interviewed me yesterday. They wanted to do a feature on successful women entrepreneurs who've been underestimated by their families. Dad's face had gone completely white. You told Forbes about our family? I told them the truth that while you were investing hundreds of thousands in Dexter's failed startup, you refused to loan me $5,000 to expand my business. Lily, I'm not done. I also told them about the Christmas card Kylie sent calling me the family charity case. They found that particularly interesting. Kylie's mouth fell open. You didn't. It's all in the article, along with photos of my office, my team, and my revenue projections for next year. Mom was reading over Kylie's shoulder. Oh my God. Lily, how could you air our private business like this? The same way you aired mine every time you introduced me as someone who sells used bags online. Dad stood up abruptly. This is unacceptable. You've embarrassed this entire family. Have I? Or have I finally given this family something to actually be proud of? Before anyone could answer, my phone rang. Unknown number. Lily, this is Marcus from the Children's Hospital Foundation. We saw the Forbes article and would love to discuss a potential partnership. We're hosting a charity gala next month and would be honored to have you as our keynote speaker. I looked directly at Dad while I answered. I'd be delighted. Send me the details. After I hung up, the room was still silent. The gala's the same night as your anniversary party, I said. But don't worry, I'll make sure to mention the Burke family legacy in my speech. I stood up to leave. Lily, wait, Dad called. About that loan. I turned back. What loan? To help with Dexter's situation. You said you could cover it. I said I could. I didn't say I would. I walked toward the door, then paused. But I'll think about it. Right after you think about that $5,000 loan I asked for 3 years ago. The anniversary party was 3 weeks away, and I had a decision to make. You're really going to do this? Isabel asked, reviewing the guest list I'd compiled. Publicly humiliate your entire family? I'm going to tell the truth. There's a difference. Is there? Because this feels like you're planning a public execution. I was sitting in my office, surrounded by printouts of revenue reports, press clippings, and a detailed timeline of every slight, every dismissal, every moment my family had made me feel worthless. They made their choices. I'm making mine. My assistant knocked. Kylie's here to see you. She says it's urgent. I looked at Isabel, who shrugged. This should be interesting. Kylie walked in, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Her usually perfect hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she was wearing jeans, something I'd never seen before. We need to talk, she said, closing the door behind her. About what? About you destroying our family for revenge. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just finally being honest about what I've built. Bullshit! You're planning something for the anniversary party. I can feel it. I leaned back in my chair. What makes you think that? Because I know you, Lily. You've been planning this for years. The quiet little sister who never fought back. That was all an act, wasn't it? Maybe? Kylie sat down across from me. Look, I know I haven't always been kind to you. The Christmas card thing was bitchy, I get that. But this is bigger than hurt feelings now. Is it? Dexter's facing criminal charges. Your parents might lose their house, and you're sitting here with millions of dollars acting like it's not your problem. It's not my problem. We're family. Are we? Because for the last 10 years, you've all treated me like the family disappointment. Now suddenly I'm family when you need money? Kylie's composure cracked. Fine. You want an apology? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I called you a charity case. I'm sorry I dismissed your business. I'm sorry I never took you seriously. That's a start. But if you go through with whatever you're planning, you'll destroy more than just Dexter. Your parents don't deserve this. Don't they? Before Kylie could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Know what you're planning. Have photos of your warehouse setup from 2019. Interesting how you hid your success for so long. Would hate for people to think you were being deceptive. Let's talk. One. Savannah. I showed the text to Kylie, whose eyes went wide. She's blackmailing you? Trying to. I called Savannah immediately. She answered on the first ring. Lily, I was hoping you'd call. What do you want? Just to chat. Maybe discuss a partnership opportunity. I've been thinking Lux Loop could use a social media manager. And if I say no? Well, I'd hate for people to think you've been hiding your success because you were doing something shady. I mean, why else would someone keep a multi-million-dollar business secret from their own family? I put the phone on speaker so Kylie could hear. Savannah, are you seriously trying to extort me? Extort? That's such an ugly word. I prefer negotiate. Here's my counteroffer, I said, opening my laptop. I have screenshots of your fake influencer scam from last year. You know, where you bought followers and faked brand partnerships to get free products. I wonder what your real followers would think about that. Silence. I also have records of you claiming business expenses for personal purchases. Tax fraud is a federal crime, isn't it? You wouldn't. Try me. I hung up. Kylie was staring at me with something that looked like respect. Damn, Lily, remind me never to cross you. Too late for that. My assistant knocked again. The reporters from Marie Claire are here for your interview. Send them in. Reporters? Kylie asked. For the anniversary party coverage, I invited them to document the Burke family legacy celebration. Kylie's face went pale. You invited press to the party? Mom always said she wanted the family to be in magazines. I'm just making her dream come true. The Marie Claire team walked in, a reporter and photographer who'd been following my story since the Vogue article. Lily, we're so excited about this piece, the reporter said. A family celebration where you finally reveal your success to everyone? It's going to be incredible. I think so too. Kylie stood up abruptly. I need to go. As she reached the door, she turned back. For what it's worth, I'm proud of what you've built. I just wish it didn't have to come at our expense. It doesn't have to, I said. You all chose to dismiss me. I'm just choosing not to stay quiet about it anymore. After she left, the reporter leaned forward eagerly. So, tell us about this family dynamic. How does it feel to have built this empire while your family focused on your brother's failed startup? I smiled. It feels like justice. That evening, I was reviewing my speech notes when my phone rang. Gareth's name appeared on the screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. Lily, I've been thinking about us. There is no us. Come on. Don't you think it's time we gave this another shot? You're successful now. I'm doing well in my career. We could be a power couple. A power couple? Think about it. Your business success, my connections. We could rule this town. I hung up without another word. Some people never learned. But in 3 weeks, at the anniversary party, everyone was going to get an education they'd never forget. The anniversary party was everything Mom had dreamed of: crystal chandeliers, string quartet, 200 of their closest friends and business associates packed into the ballroom at the Grandview Hotel. I arrived fashionably late, wearing a custom dress that cost more than Dexter's monthly burn rate. The Marie Claire photographer was already positioned near the stage, and I spotted the Vogue business reporter mingling with guests. Lily? Mom rushed over, looking radiant in her anniversary gown. You look absolutely stunning. Everyone's been asking about you. I bet they have. Dad appeared beside her, clearly uncomfortable. The press you invited, they're asking a lot of questions. Good. That's what they're here for. Before he could respond, the MC tapped the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could take your seats, we're ready to begin our celebration of Neil and Bridget's 40 years together. I found my assigned table, strategically placed in the front row where everyone could see me. Kylie was at the head table with Dexter, who looked like he'd aged 5 years in the past month. His legal troubles had been front page news all week. The MC introduced several speakers, family friends, business partners, colleagues who praised my parents' legacy of success and family values. Then Dexter took the stage. Thank you all for being here tonight, he began, his voice shaky. These past few weeks have been challenging for our family. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Everyone knew about the scandal. But that's what family is for, supporting each other through difficult times. My parents taught me that success isn't just about money. It's about integrity, perseverance, and never giving up on your dreams. He paused, scanning the crowd until his eyes found mine. Sometimes the market doesn't cooperate. Sometimes external factors beyond your control derail even the best laid plans. But that doesn't mean you stop trying. More murmurs. People were shifting uncomfortably. Which is why I'm announcing tonight that I'm launching a new venture. With my family's support, I'll be pivoting into the luxury goods space, an area where I can leverage existing expertise and connections. My blood ran cold. He was talking about muscling in on my territory. In fact, Dexter continued, I'm hoping to partner with someone who really understands this market, someone who's been quietly building something special. He looked directly at me and smiled. My sister Lily has been working in luxury resale for a few years now, and I think together we could build something amazing. Lily, would you mind coming up here? The crowd turned to look at me. The photographer's camera flashed. This wasn't how I'd planned it, but Dexter had just handed me the perfect opening. I stood up and walked to the stage, accepting the microphone with a smile. Thank you, Dexter. That's so generous of you. I turned to face the crowd, 200 faces looking back at me expectantly. My brother's right. I've been working in luxury resale for the past 3 years, actually, and I'd love to tell you all about it. I clicked the remote for the presentation screen behind me. The first slide appeared. Lux Loop from 12K to 3.5 meters in 36 months. Gasps echoed through the ballroom. 3 years ago, I asked my father for a $5,000 loan to expand my business. He said no. He told me I wasn't cut out for business and should focus on finding a husband instead. Dad's face had gone white. Mom was gripping her champagne glass so hard I thought it might shatter. That same week, he gave Dexter $400,000 for his startup, no business plan required, no questions asked. I clicked to the next slide, a comparison chart showing LuxLoop's steady growth versus Dexter's company's spectacular crash. While my family was celebrating Dexter's revolutionary business idea, I was building something real, something profitable, something that didn't require burning through other people's money. The crowd was dead silent now. Last quarter alone, LuxLoop generated more profit than Dexter's company made in total revenue over its entire existence. I clicked again. Revenue charts, press coverage, client testimonials. Forbes called me one of the top entrepreneurs under 30. Vogue Business featured me as a rising star. Marie Claire is here tonight documenting this moment for their upcoming issue. I looked directly at Dexter, who was standing frozen beside me. So, when my brother asks if I want to partner with him, if I want to share the expertise and connections I've built while he was busy failing, I paused for effect. The answer is no. The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. But I do have an offer for my family. Since you're facing financial difficulties, I'd be happy to buy out your stake in the family home. Cash offer, above market value. Consider it my contribution to the Burke legacy. I turned back to the microphone. I want to thank everyone who believed in me when my own family didn't, especially my business partner Isabel and all the women who were told to stay small while carrying empires in silence. I set the microphone down and walked off the stage. The ballroom exploded into chaos. People were talking, pointing, pulling out their phones. The photographer was capturing every moment. As I reached my table, Gareth appeared beside me. Lily, that was incredible. We should celebrate. No. I walked past him toward the exit, where Isabel was waiting with a huge grin. How do you feel? She asked. I looked back at the ballroom, at my parents' shocked faces, at Dexter standing alone on the stage, at 200 people who would never underestimate me again. Like I just won. The fallout started immediately. By Monday morning, the Marie Claire article was trending on social media. The headline read, The Revenge Speech That Broke the Internet. How one woman exposed her family's hypocrisy at their own anniversary party. My phone hadn't stopped ringing. Interview requests, speaking opportunities, business partnership offers. Isabel had to hire a publicist just to manage the media attention, but the call I'd been expecting came Tuesday afternoon. Lily, it's Dad. We need to talk. About what? About your offer. To buy the house. I was in my office, reviewing contracts for our expansion into European markets. Through my window, I could see the city skyline, a view I'd earned through 3 years of 18-hour days and refusing to take no for an answer. Are you accepting? We don't have much choice. The legal fees alone are going to bankrupt us. And with Dexter's situation, his voice trailed off. Can we meet in person? An hour later, I was sitting across from both my parents in their lawyer's office. They looked older somehow, smaller. The weight of public embarrassment and financial ruin had aged them overnight. The house is worth about 800,000, the lawyer said. Lily's offered 950, all cash, 30-day close. That's very generous, Mom said quietly. More than generous. It's fair market value plus a premium for the quick sale, I replied. Nothing generous about it. Dad cleared his throat. Lily, about what happened at the party. What about it? You humiliated us. In front of everyone we know. I told the truth. You could have handled it privately. I stared at him. Like you handled dismissing my business privately. Like Kylie handled calling me a charity case privately. Like Dexter handled asking for my help while secretly planning to steal my market. That's not. Dad, I spent 10 years being quiet, being polite, being the good daughter who didn't make waves. Where did that get me? Mom leaned forward. It got you here. You built something amazing, Lily. We're proud of you. Are you? Or are you just scared because I have something you need now? The room went quiet. Both, Dad admitted finally. I was wrong. About you, about your business, about everything. I let my old fashioned ideas blind me to what you were capable of. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever heard from him. The house sale goes through next week, I said, standing up. You'll have enough to cover Dexter's legal fees and start over somewhere else. Lily, wait. Mom's voice was small. Will we will we still be family after this? I looked at her, really looked at her. She was still my mother, despite everything. But she was also the woman who'd spent my entire life telling me to aim lower, dream smaller, be less. That depends on you, I said. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. The house sale closed without complications. Dexter pled guilty to lesser charges and got probation plus community service. Kylie filed for divorce and, in a move that surprised everyone, asked if she could work for LuxLoop as a brand ambassador. I know I don't deserve it, she said during our meeting, but I understand luxury marketing and I need a job. Dexter left me with nothing. What makes you think I'd trust you? Because you're better than I am. You always were. I hired her on a trial basis. She was good at the job, better than I expected. Turns out all those years of social climbing had given her genuine insights into what wealthy women wanted. Savannah disappeared from social media entirely after her influencer scam was exposed. Gareth stopped calling after I had my assistant send him a cease and desist letter. The letter from Mom arrived on a Thursday, handwritten on her personal stationery. Dear Lily, it began. I know you don't want to hear from us, but I wanted you to know we're moving to Florida next month. Your father found a small consulting job there, and we've rented a modest apartment near the beach. It's nothing like what we had, but maybe that's not such a bad thing. We lived beyond our means for too long, propped up by expectations and appearances. You were the only one of us building something real. I should have seen that sooner. The invitation stands if you ever want to visit for Christmas. We'd love to have you. Love, Mom. That evening, I sat in my penthouse apartment, the one I'd bought with cash from a single month's profits, holding the original Prada bag that started everything. The leather was worn now, the hardware slightly tarnished, but it was still beautiful. My phone buzzed with a text from Isabel. Forbes wants to do a cover story. America's most underestimated entrepreneur. Interested? I typed back. Book it. I walked to my floor to ceiling windows and looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, other women were being told they weren't smart enough, tough enough, business minded enough. Other daughters were being overlooked in favor of sons who hadn't earned it. I thought about Mom's letter, about Dad's apology, about the family that had dismissed me for so long they'd missed watching me build an empire. Worth it, I whispered to my reflection. But as I said the words, I realized something had shifted. The anger that had fueled me for 3 years was finally starting to fade, replaced by something else entirely. Pride. Not in proving them wrong, but in proving myself right. I set the bag down and opened my laptop. I had work to do.